Hello everyone. We're waiting for a few more minutes. We're waiting for a few more participants. We will begin shortly. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SAPMUN 101. I'm Matthew from the SAPMUN team, and we have with us today Lia D'costa, who will be chairing the UNW committee of SAPMUN 2021. She will now brief us on SAPMUN. Over to you, Lia.
Good evening, guys. I'm Lia D'costa. So today I'll be telling you all about what exactly is an MUN and how does it really work. So y'all can, it's a very interactive session, guys. Y'all can ask me questions and y'all can interrupt me, but I will start introducing the basic concept of what is an MUN. So an MUN is actually a model United Nations. It may be a little hard to understand with these three words. So they say if you put it on Google, you'll get MUN is an academic simulation of the United Nations. Now, what this exactly means is that some students are given countries, they're assigned countries, and how it exactly works in the United Nations. So in the actual United Nations, we have a lot of committees. So we have UNGA, that is the General Assembly. We have UNHRC. We have UN Women, that is United Nations Women, UNW. There are a lot of committees. So these committees are it's a model of that is being hosted in our college. So first things first, an academic simulation. So every student, whoever participates in this conference will be assigned a country. So these students are called delegates. This is just a more fancier word, I'd say, but for your basic understanding, it's just the ambassador, ambassador of the country. Also, I please request any to keep yourselves muted, guys. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, so students are given their assigned countries, and they would represent these countries as ambassadors of these countries. Now, for example, United Nations Women Committee. So every student would be given a country. So these students are called delegates. For your basic understanding, these students are called delegates. So you cannot address the person by his or her name, because in the United Nations we do not do the same. What we say is the delegate of India, the delegate of United States of America or the US. So we do not use personal pronouns, because this is a more uh, it's a different thing. You have to be more formal in the way you speak. So the first things first is the delegate. Now the person judging y'all, it's is basically called a chair. So a chair is like a moderator of the debate. So we'll be listening to y'all, we'll be saying what you have to say, and we'll be correcting y'all. So when y'all represent your country, y'all cannot give your personal opinions. So now a basic example of how a MUN would work. So I'd say we are in a committee, the United Nations Women, and we have 5 students and they are assigned different countries. So these students are called delegates. And every student will be assigned a different country, say India, Pakistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, and US. So these students would have to speak. Every delegate in the committee will get a chance to speak. And this speaking process is called the speakers list. So in the speakers list, every delegate, that is every student, will have to speak for about a given time. That's normally a minute. So you will speak about the stance of your country. Now say you've been given India. So when you're speaking for India, you're not speaking for yourself. Also, you'll have to speak what the country thinks. So when you are doing your research, do not think of what is right and what is wrong. You have to see the country's policy. So how India thinks that this law goes, or whatever the problem is given to y'all, or whatever agenda is given to y'all. Also, y'all can ask me questions when I ask y'all to interrupt. For now, let me speak. So uh, there are these particular delegates. We have chair, and everyone speaks for a minute. Now, this speakers list is the time given to students to speak for that 1 minute about the stance of the country. Now, what does India think of this particular statement, and where does our country hold on this statement? So y'all are fighting on the agenda. I wouldn't call it a fight per se. It's more of a diplomatic debate. So yeah, that's that. And the whole point of this conference is to come to a unanimous decision as to what can be done with common ground. So all countries, that is all delegates, will get the time to discuss, to talk, and to come on and share a common ground as to their decision of what they'll be doing or what can be done for the better. That's the whole point of United Nations itself. We work for the peace of and betterment of the whole world, all countries. We do not think of one. So we have to come on a common ground. So now this is just a basic setup of how an MUN works. So everything in an MUN, there is a time limit and there's a purpose for your speech. You cannot just speak according to what you all want to. You'll have to think as to, okay, this is what I have to speak because of this. You'll have to speak for a particular purpose, a particular reason. Also, there is particular verbatim in the way you speak. You cannot speak informally. That's not how it works. The whole point of this is to speak in a formal manner, which will be taught to you all. There will it'll be taught to you all in the committee itself. You all do not have to be worried about it, but avoid using personal stories or personal things, because you are not speaking for yourself, you are speaking for your country. You are the ambassador of your country, which the country assigned to you, that is. So you all will have to, in the 2 days of your conference, you all will get time to speak for your country. You all will get time to discuss with other countries as to what can be done. You all can share common ground. You all can also debate with another country and tell them like why you think you're right and why they think they are right, but your never go against your foreign policies. That is, just because you think you're right doesn't mean your country thinks you're right. So please keep in mind that you have to focus as your country, not as you. So when you research, try researching on your country. Don't research as to what is right and what is wrong, because there are different laws in different countries. Different countries have different stances. Different countries hold up for different reasons, and that's all left to them. But you cannot come in between this. You will still speak for your own country. All right. So at the end of your conference, the whole point of this is to share common ground. So all students, I mean all delegates, that is, all countries would come together and they would draft resolution. Now, all of y'all may think, what is a resolution? I'll let y'all know honestly, it's a very fancy word as to the solution. A resolution is just your solution in a more it's more formally written. So you'll have to come up with solutions as to how y'all can solve your problem, but y'all have to share common ground. Now, when y'all are sharing solutions for your problem, there might be people who are against you and they might file their own solutions. They might come up with their own solutions, which is okay. But y'all will have to vote for which solution you would choose. That is, which resolution paper would y'all choose and which would y'all all share common ground with. So when it comes to voting, you can either vote in favor, you can vote against, or you can abstain your vote. Abstaining your vote basically means, like in India, we have nota for voting. When we vote for any political field, we have nota. That is, we do not have to give a vote. It will not be considered. It's just, you do not have to vote. That is, if you do not agree with both of the resolutions. So the whole point of this conference is to discuss, debate, and try to share common ground and come up with a solution to your problem. It's a unanimous decision. All right, so that is one. So now coming up with more intricate things of this. So I will tell you all, everyone is given a chance to speak. You all do not have to speak, but you all should speak because it's an opportunity given to you all. And every delegate is given a chance to speak for their country. Also, you all have to be, there'll be a roll call taken. So how it works in the United Nations is, there needs to be a particular, like how our teacher takes attendance in our classes, but we do not follow roll call. So in the United Nations, it goes like, if there are these amount of countries, only then we can hold the conference, only then we can start the conference. If there are no particular amount of countries, we cannot do so. So we will be following that particular thing. So we want certain amount of countries, so we can start our meeting, we can start our conference and come up with a great resolution. All right, so when you all speak, you all have to be clear in the way you all speak. But if it's your first time, you all do not have to be nervous. It's a very safe space. I will come to that in a minute. You all have to be very convincing. You all will get to learn to be very convincing. And you'll also have to be very persuasive, because there are many countries where you feel you are wrong on a personal note, but as a country, the country feels they're right. There are no laws against anything. So you'd have to still fight for the country and not for yourself and not your personal belief. So this is where it might get a little challenging for all of y'all, but y'all will still have to, and y'all will learn how to speak and how to sell something you do not like. All right, so this is a very rough thing of how an MUN actually works. Y'all will learn it, and it's not very hard. It's just these words seem fancy, but they are not really. When you come and attend a conference by yourself, when you attend this SAPMUN 2021, y'all will learn, and it will be a great experience for y'all. I can assure that. All right, if there are any questions, y'all can interrupt me and unmute yourselves. Also, y'all can put it in the chat box if y'all are. If y'all have any questions, please put it in the chat box, or y'all can interrupt me and unmute yourselves.
Hello, my name is Tuti, and I have a question that which are the best resources for studying foreign policies of a particular country? Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't quite catch your name, but I will answer your question. So one thing is, y'all should stop reading Wikipedia when y'all come for conferences like this, because conferences like this needs legitimate information. Now, Wikipedia is a source. I do not know if many of y'all know, but Wikipedia is a source wherein people can just update it. Even you and I can add information to that. And it's not a legitimate source under the United Nations. So when y'all go to Google, y'all have to put these high profile news websites like international news website, like there's something called Reuters. Y'all can write it down if y'all are participating and y'all really want to know. It's Reuters, Reuters.com. There are many cases and all of that, and y'all can learn through that. Y'all have Reuters, y'all have any news site, to be very honest, is more legitimate than Wikipedia. But you can always use Wikipedia as a source of general information to get a general idea, because it's in easier terms. But like when you speak for your country, another country can always question you. Another student, that is, another country can question you, saying, where did you get this information from? How can you prove it? So you can't say, I read it on Wikipedia or Wikipedia says so, because Wikipedia, anybody can use Wikipedia, anybody can update information on Wikipedia. So you will have to have a more legitimate site. So when you use all of this, these things come under use more of these news like Al Jazeera, all these globally wide used news channels. Then you can use the UN website itself. Every committee has a website in UN. They may be a lot to read, but it gives you the most legit information, and it is the correct amount of news y'all should be reading. Any other questions? Y'all can interrupt me.
Hi, this is Samriddhi.
Okay, Samriddhi, go first. I think two people were speaking.
Okay, I heard that there's a Lok Sabha in SAPMUN. I would like to know, how does the proceedings of the Lok Sabha differ from the proceedings of the United Nations?
Okay, so I would get to explaining to you all about each committee's agenda. That is, what is the whole point of this debate in that agenda. But see, Lok Sabha, we know that it's particularly stands in India. It doesn't come under the United Nations. But even Lok Sabha has a particular way they debate. They also follow certain verbatim. We do not know that because we are a little under knowledge, let's say. But so when you get Lok Sabha, it's this almost the same thing. Y'all will be assigned MPs, or y'all will be assigned MPs. Y'all won't be given countries or states. Like y'all will be ambassadors, certain ambassadors. y'all will be given the names, y'all will be assigned names, but how it exactly works in the Lok Sabha, it will be exactly like that. Y'all will be particular MPs. Y'all will, whatever the MP says, y'all will have to speak for them. As in, you'll be the MP yourself. You won't be representing the MP. You are the MP in this certain conference. So you will be, you'll be representing their thoughts and what they think, and y'all will also come up. It's not a resolution in the Lok Sabha, it's a bill. Y'all will pass a bill. If y'all don't pass a bill, the conference will end, but you'd still be given the best speaker. But y'all have to come up with common, again, share common ground for the betterment of the whole country, and every MP's voice is being heard. And y'all, yeah, so y'all can, and that's how it goes. Yeah, that's about it. There's no major change, I'd say. Y'all will be speaking, y'all will be assigned MPs, and instead of giving a resolution paper or like solutions, you all will be passing a bill. That's how it works in the Lok Sabha. Anyone else? Someone else was speaking.
Hi,
that time.
this is Kiara.
Okay.
I had a question about the position paper.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, would we be having a position paper? And second off, what would we be writing in it?
Okay. So there will be another session of ROP being held for y'all. That is rules of procedure. Also, in every committee, the first session is always about teaching y'all how to write, what is the particular verbatim, like how y'all should speak and what y'all should avoid speaking. But that doesn't stop y'all from preparing for your conference. So now a position paper in some MUNs is called a position paper, and in some MUNs it's called a working paper. It really depends on the chair and the MUN and the ROP which we follow. So I personally call it a working paper for your position paper. But working papers are drafts of what you think could be solutions to the particular problem. Now, see, for instance, your agenda is solving for UNODC, the agenda for SAPMUN 2021 is solving the issue of cocaine and heroin trade and trafficking. So now, your country particularly thinks of having certain laws wherein you'll be arrested for consuming drugs or arrested for selling drugs and all of that. So that would be your solution. You would write it saying this could be a thing, and these are just draft papers of solutions which will be given. That's what a whole position paper is. And it doesn't necessarily have to stick to the agenda. It can also stick to subtopics of the agenda. Now, when you talk about trade and trafficking of drugs, there's a lot that comes under it. It's not only cocaine and heroin. There's also a lot of other kinds of trafficking which happens, which y'all will speak in conference, and then y'all will get to know what y'all could write about and what y'all couldn't write about. But again, another ROP session will be held. That is rules of procedure session will be held 1 or 2 weeks before the conference itself, wherein y'all will be prepared and taught how to write a position paper or a working paper. Y'all do not have to stress on this a lot. All right.
Lia, just give me a minute. I'm interrupting you, but there were some questions in the chat that I'd answer because they were asking it again and again. So the last day to register for SAPMUN 2021 is 17th September. And a lot of y'all asked when the countries will be assigned to you. As of now, the Delegate Affairs is assigning you the committee of your preference. But as soon as our committees fill up, we will be assigning your portfolios. So please don't worry about when you will get it. You will get it definitely 2 weeks before the event. I don't think you should be worried or concerned about it now. And Lia, there was a question that was there in the chat. I think you can answer it. So someone asked, I think Sudhiti, should we state our resolution when we are given the opportunity to speak or later on, and how do we state the resolution?
Okay, so every committee session, there are different sessions being held for a particular reason. So the first session mainly focuses on it again depends on how your chair hosts it, that how your judge takes. A chair is basically a moderator, so how your moderator takes it. So the speakers list is, I told you, every delegate, that is every country, is given a chance to speak about their stance on the situation or their opinion on the situation. Now the resolution, see, you can always, when you're given a chance to speak, you can always say, this is what I think, and this is what I think can be done. But it wouldn't be considered as a resolution per se. There is a whole, the last sessions are for completely for your resolution papers. That is, you all will be made to sit with countries who agree with you, and there'll be different blocks. So blocks are people who agree, people who don't agree, people who have their different mindsets of the whole resolution paper, and you all can sit and write it down. But see, resolution again is only the solution. It's nothing more. It's just a fancier word for the solution to the problem, but there's a particular way you write it. So now in the working paper, a working paper is or the position paper, as y'all say, is a more informal thing compared to a resolution paper. Now the working paper, you're writing from your country. A resolution paper, you'll also be writing from your country, but you will need signatories. You need other countries to say. So signatories are basically, okay, this resolution can be passed. Now I can make the higher authorities read it, and it can be put up for discussion as to whether it can be passed or not. So a resolution session, the resolution drafting session is always held at the end, because you all need time to discuss, you all need to hear other countries out, you all need to have this discussion, you all need to know, and you all are given the chance. It's not like you all aren't given the chance, you all just need to grab the opportunity to speak. Anyone else?
Hi, it's Kiara again. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I was wondering, I've usually been in crisis committees. I think my past 4 months have been 3 months have been crisis committees, and most of the time the chairs like aggression in the speeches that we give, and I've noticed that in GAs usually the chairs prefer more diplomatic ways of speaking. So which one would be better for the UNW?
Okay, so now again, see, it really depends on the chair, but it's preferably I'm sorry, but we speak in a very diplomatic manner. See, there are two things, even in reality, you can either throw hate or you can throw criticism. And criticism has to be constructive. You're not throwing hate on the other country. So when you're fighting with aggression, it is more of you're saying the country is wrong. You're not even ready to hear them out. And you are throwing a lot of hate. I'm saying this in a country's point of view, not in a personal manner. You end up throwing a lot of hate, which can be a minus point for some judges and a plus point for few, but it's preferred to speak in a very diplomatic manner. Now, criticism is telling, this could be wrong. This is me telling you, this is a chance where I wouldn't agree. You could do better. You're not throwing hate, you're helping them grow as a country. So you preferably speak again in a diplomatic manner, because if you want to be heard, you should speak to someone the same way you'd want the other person to speak to you. So you have to speak diplomatically. Again, see, but now you'll be given chances to debate. There's a difference between debating, like when two countries are on a head-to-head debate, and y'all are just given the chance to speak. When y'all are on a head-to-head debate, y'all can speak, y'all can have a little aggression, but y'all can't ever use an inappropriate language, because that's not how it works, and we do not support this kind of behavior. So try to speak again in a more diplomatic manner. And I'm the chair of UNW, and you asked me about UNW in particular. So I'd prefer more. See, when we stand up for rights of women and we stand up against aggression against women, we should speak in a very diplomatic manner. So I would say y'all would better speak in diplomatically rather than show a lot of aggression, because the whole point of this MUN is to teach you all how to is an opportunity given to you all how to speak in a very diplomatic manner instead of throwing hate, and rather show criticism and help countries grow together for the better. Anyone?
Hi, Leah. There was another question in the chat. What value are we getting out of SAPMUN, and how will it be useful for our future studies?
Okay, so I have to explain to you all what is the benefits of SAPMUN or any MUN for that matter, but mostly SAPMUN. Okay, so you tend to get a lot of, not tend to, you, when you participate, you have a lot of worldly knowledge. So sitting at home, and we don't read newspapers anymore, to be very honest, even I don't read newspapers. We do not know current affairs or what's going on in this world. So we'd rather, when we participate in this, we know that there are problems going on. We gain a lot of knowledge, which is really good. It helps increase your GK, which many may think is not necessary, but it comes to good, I'd say. It helps you build in confidence. So when I did my first month, I was lacking in confidence. I could barely speak on stage, even though I could write or like speak well at home, because you're given so much opportunity to speak, and it's a very safe space. No one throws hate on you. You will learn, you'll gain that confidence, you'll gain that self-esteem that okay, I can speak, I can do better. And confidence in this world is key to any job you do, anything you do. I'm a student, but I still feel confidence is key to communication in any sector. You learn analytical skills, so you learn to analyze what's going on. So now a problem is given to you. You will analyze, okay, this is what's wrong, this is what's right. What can we do about it? Like problem solving skills. You learn, okay, this. So there's a lot of thinking you have to do. And in this pandemic, it's something which is really necessary for all, because we are so stuck at home. We learn so much, and it's a great way to network with people. I'll tell you this one thing about networking. You may have read it everywhere, but networking is your net worth. Network is your net worth, I repeat, because the more you know people, the more you connect with people, it will help you. You really need to grow your network. You meet different people, you have wider range of their thoughts. You're like, okay, this is what they think, you never thought of it. And it's such a wonderful experience meeting so many people. See, now y'all are having an online conference, y'all will still get the chance to speak to different people, to have different views on one situation. See, everyone thinks very differently, and y'all will still have different views, and it's very good for, it's a great experience, I'd say. Y'all will learn diplomacy, and diplomacy is key to everything again, because y'all will have to learn to speak diplomatically. Y'all cannot always show aggression when something is wrong. Y'all will learn to speak diplomatically, hear the other person out, which is not only a skill in your career or in your college life, it's also a skill in your personal life, to be very honest. Public speaking, it's a great mode of communication. Y'all will learn how to, I wouldn't say learn how to speak, but you're given the opportunity to speak. And it's such a great opportunity, because you're given the opportunity, you grab it and you speak, and you will explore so many things you didn't know you could do yourself. And it's a great way to increase your capacity if y'all are ever getting into public speaking or not, because again, public speaking is necessity for any job you do. Writing skills, there are a lot, so you'll have to write also here and there. It will help you on your writing skills, because you cannot just write what you feel. It's not like you're writing in your diary. It's not a personal opinion, it's more of your country's stance or how your country does it. So again, you will have a lot of writing skills. I don't know if you all think it's not worth it, but I have personally participated in a lot of MUNs myself, and it may initially y'all may be nervous, or y'all may think, what's the whole point of it? Or now that it's online, why should we do it? So when y'all debate, when y'all get the chance to speak, it is wonderful because you're not speaking for yourself. The information is there on the internet. Y'all just have to learn it, maybe think of it, and show it to other people, like why it's right or why it's wrong. And it's a great way for public speaking, because we will also notice how you speak, your confidence, and it's a safe space. No one's throwing hate, no one's saying you're a bad speaker, no one's looking at your grammar. It's more on your confidence, legit information, and different other different things. So yeah, it's personally helped me a lot, and I think it could help a lot of y'all too. And I know many of y'all may be your first time, but please do participate. It's a great opportunity. Anyone else?
This is Stuti again. But I have a question. Like UNW will be my first. Like I'll be participating in UNW for the first time. Do you have any tips for research
Okay,
regarding the agenda?
so I'm the chair of UNW. I can't give you all anything you'll have to do, but this is regardless of whichever committee y'all are participating. First, check out your country's stance on the situation. That is, now the UNW's agenda is discussing shadow pandemic and special emphasis on marital rape. So discuss what your country thinks about this particular agenda. And then also on or any particular agenda of different committees, first see what your country holds of it. And also after that, you'll have to see about why other countries are against it or for it, because there may be times where countries will be against you and say why you're doing this, and you will always have to be ready for any kind of question. So I'd say when you do your research well with your country, be very confident about your country. Then check. Secondary comes all other countries. You want to see whatever bad the other countries do, y'all can check it out, but see it's from a legitimate source. Don't just check anything. To prepare, don't be very nervous to speak on camera or just speak. It's a very easy thing. Also, did I answer your question, or do you have any more queries to it?
Yeah, that makes it clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, also the whole, you're asking the benefits of the MUN, and I completely forgot. The main thing, the certificate holds great in your resume, because it shows how, even a participation certificate for that matter, it shows that you have tried speaking, and it holds really great, because an MUN again is a model United Nations. So the whole concept of a student being able to speak or represent a country, even though it's a competition, it holds great in your resume. And for your college courses or for your higher studies, for your degree, you all will have to show in particular things when you want to get in college, or even your work source. I'd say these certificates hold a great amount of value. All right, anyone else with questions?
Sorry, I'm interrupting you again, but
No, that's okay.
I had this last question. For resolution, you need to have formal terms when you're forming it, right? So would you have any tips for, if you want to be the sponsor of the resolution, how you can prep for it?
Okay, so all first time runners, y'all should really, when y'all watch YouTube or Google and see these fancy words, y'all should not freak out. Y'all should really calm down, because they are only fancy words. They are nothing more than that. So when y'all see the exact how to write a resolution paper will be told to y'all on the committee day itself. If y'all have any doubts, the chair will explain to you what it is or what words you have to write or what words you have to put in, what clauses you have to write. So do not worry about that. Do not worry about the resolution paper before participating. Just practice what you all want to speak, what you all want to put out, why you think your country is right. And again, do not ever put personal opinions when you all are debating for your country. All right, is there anyone else?
Yeah, I think on the YouTube live, there was a question regarding what sources are credible, and someone asked if BBC, Al Jazeera, and CNN are credible sources. So, I mean, if you could highlight on that point about the sources, it might be clear for all the delegates.
Okay, so again, I'd say other than Wikipedia, see, when you all do not use Wikipedia as a source to show people, to show other countries that this is where I got the news from. It's not a legitimate or a credible source, because Wikipedia is, even you and I can change it. To be very honest, we can just update the news. That is why it's not credible. So I told you, these big news sites, these big websites, these big news channels are all credible sources. BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, there's something called Reuters. It's not very famous in the student crowd, but it's a very good website for news and all of that. Y'all can also use the United Nations website itself, because every committee has a website of its own and the information is just there. And you don't have to worry so much about your sources, because the chair won't ask you, okay, tell me where you got this news from suddenly. It's when you're accusing or when you're stating that, okay, this is what my country did in 2021. And I will ask you, where did you get that thing from? Or like, where did you source that information from? So y'all can't say Wikipedia. That's when it comes to task. Y'all have to use credible information for all the events that you think y'all have done. And all these news sites are all credible.
If I may interrupt, how do you determine the for example, a news site like CNN might have a left-wing tilt in their news reporting. So how do you account for that? Do you have to declare that during your source declaration, or when you're speaking to someone, or is that just ignored?
Okay, so that's not how it works. So when you think a particular news channel is left-wing or right-wing, see, the whole point of this is it's still legitimate, because see how current news works, we still post stuff. It always goes through a particular media head, and it will still be credible even if you personally think it is more right-wing or more left-wing. You'll have to be very careful, but that's not how it works. All this is credible information itself. But there may be times where the other delegate or the other country comes up to you and says, this is not fair. You're more left wing or you're more right wing. And that's when you'll have to think about reasons to why y'all are left wing. See, because every country, any news which is given out, if the country thinks it looks really bad or it doesn't make sense, they will take it down. But when it comes to the Lok Sabha, it can be very left wing or right wing, to be very honest. And this again is, you have to think about your MP stance. So if your MP is more left wing, you will have to just say, okay, this is what I think, this is what, but you'll have to think of reasons why that particular statement is right. And with Lok Sabha, this can be very challenging, because your personal opinions and the MP's views on one agenda can be clashing, but y'all will still have to go on the MP's views and think of reasons why he thinks it's right. And you have to still fight for the particular thing. But all news sources are mostly credible, so do not worry about that.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so someone, I'm not sure. Okay, so what is the resolution to clear your doubts? Again, resolution is, in easiest terms, it's the solution. So what is this whole conference about? agendas given to you all. Students are assigned countries. Countries are speaking about their opinions. You all are speaking about all your opinions. And you all are trying to share common ground. The whole sharing common ground is the resolution. So how in the Lok Sabha in India we pass bills, something like that, same concept, we pass resolution papers. Resolution papers is nothing you'll have to overthink about. It's just solutions to your problem. Okay, anyone else?
Hello, I'm Aquila. So, if we find ourselves in a situation where the expected suggestion and thoughts from us are completely different from a personal opinion, so what do we do? How do we know the right choice or thought to make? Do we still go with what's expected from us, or do we make a choice between our personal opinion and what's expected from us?
Okay, so I'll tell you all how this works. So when you all are given a country, you all are representing the country no matter what. Your personal views have to be kept aside. You all will have to learn how to do it. Even you all. So see, I personally once got Iran and I was fighting for women rights. So Iran with women rights is a little backward, and I have a lot of personal views about women rights and all of that. So that was really challenging for me. But you'll still have to learn how to fight for your country's stance. You all cannot put your personal views in your country's views because the chair will know. The chair will ask you, I don't think your country does things this way. So if India is for something, you'll have to speak for it, even if you are personally against it. So y'all cannot clash personal views, but it will be very challenging. I can understand that, but it will give you when there is challenge, it's a lot more fun, to be very honest, and it will help you a lot. So if you have personal views and this clashing, always, I'll tell you this one thought, always think of what are the reasons they think that the particular situation is right or wrong. Always think from that person's point of view or that country's point of view. If you all can't make sense with it, still find reasons to say that, okay, my country is right. Because you stand up for your country, you're not standing up for yourself in this whole conference. All right, anyone else?
Hi, I had a question. So again, in crisis committees, there are like crisis updates and stuff to move committee forward. I'm not entirely sure how it works in a GA. So how does committee move forward?
Okay, so with this, again, an ROP session will be held for all the participants, so you all do not have to worry about it. The first committee also, they will tell you all exactly how the whole procedure will go, but I'll give you all a rough idea of how it goes. Normally the first committees, we explain to you all what is to be done, how it is to be done, and what's the whole point of it. Second, we set up the agenda. Now setting up the agenda, see, the agenda is already given to you all, but particular amount of people have to stand up for the agenda saying we want this agenda to be discussed. After that, we have the speakers list. That is, every country gets to speak about their personal opinion, not personal, I mean, sorry, the country stance on the topic, on the agenda. So after a lot of speaking, y'all can have debates. There's something called moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, which will be explained to y'all next week. But to give a fair enough idea, you'll get chances to speak about the situation or possible solutions. And unmoderated caucus is all about informal. So it's the time given to you all to network with other countries and discuss with them or write your working papers and all that. So how this moves forward is more or less you'll start speaking, you'll keep discussing it, and the last sessions are mostly for drafting your resolution paper that is coming up with solutions and trying to pass a paper that is, like, in easier terms, trying to pass a bill as to coming up with a unanimous decision is all in all. That's quite.
If I
Yeah.
may ask another question,
Yeah.
in the last online MUN that I attended, we used Google Meet for making groups of countries and blocks. How will that be handled in SAPMUN to like in unmoderate caucuses?
Okay, so this again, okay, a lot of y'all may have questions about online conferences. So, see, if y'all want to speak, we can always keep breakout rooms. So there'll be breakout rooms being held. I'm sorry. Yeah, breakout rooms there, and y'all can come up with innovative stuff, like y'all can make WhatsApp groups. If your two countries are trying to go against one country, y'all can personally message each other. There are different things you can do to network, but do not worry about online conferencing. This is one competition or one particular kind of conference which can be held online without a hassle, because everybody can speak on camera. People, and we are so lucky to have so modern technology. We can have breakout rooms if you want to be separated. There are moderators in every who will be helping me, like I'm a chair, so there'll be people helping me, so you all can send me personal messages which you all don't want other countries to read, but you all want the chair in particular to read. So do not worry about all this. It's not a lot of hassle. You'll just have to learn about it, and every chair would have different opinions about this or how they want to go about it. It completely depends on the chair, and they will explain it to you once in conference. You all do not have to worry about it or stress about it. Anyone else? Okay, I'll ask one of the team members to read out the questions in the chat box.
So I saw a question in the chat box. 1 second. If you could explain the agendas of each committee.
Okay, so I was going to get to this anyway. I might as well do it right now. So Lok Sabha, the agenda for Lok Sabha is deliberation on implementation of a national level population control bill with emphasis on the recent Uttar Pradesh Popular Bill 2021. So this may seem a little hard for you all to grasp suddenly, but the whole point of this is, so deliberation means long and careful consideration or discussion. So this Lok Sabha agenda is discussing about population control bill. So in UP recently there was a bill being held about, they wanted to come up with sustainable development, that is two-child policy. So this works in China. So every family can have only two children because they want to control population, and they want to have, so according to public opinion, its distribution, and there's something called total fertility rate. And so to this whole point of the Lok Sabha is what your state or your thing thinks about controlling population. And because a lot of them say India will touch China's population in another 10 years if this is the rate it grows. But some people say this might just not happen. It's quite normal. And there are different opinions on this, but you are completely speaking about population control in India because it's a Lok Sabha committee. So it will be particularly for India, but different states or different MPs' opinions per se. Also, you all will talk in special emphasis to Uttar Pradesh Popular Bill 2021. So you all will have to check out what this bill exactly is. So this was a bill recently which was held in UP, which some states agree with it, some states do not. And 12 states want to implement it also. You'll be shocked to see the states which want to implement two-child policy in India. You will just have to research a little, do not have to worry about it a lot. And there are a certain amount of states which are also opposing to this. So this is all about Lok Sabha, mainly about population control. And the recent bill, that was the UP bill in 2021. UNHRC, human rights that is, The agenda is protection of civilian liberties and providing humanitarian assistance in regions of conflict with special emphasis on the situation in Afghanistan. So there's a lot of speech about, lot of talk about what Afghanistan is going through and what exactly is happening. It's blowing up on the internet. It's really sad. And everyone, I'm pretty sure many of y'all must have seen videos. I know all of y'all are on Instagram and it's going on viral. But now, what are civilian liberties? So every country has guarantees you particular freedoms where liberal governments cannot go against it. So even India has particular freedoms where the country, even in cases of emergency, cannot remove it from you. They are freedoms which have to be given to you regardless of anything. So civilian liberties. So now we are talking about humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. It's an emphasis on humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. So I do not know if many of y'all know what's happening in Afghanistan, but there's a big humanitarian crisis going on there, and the Taliban has taken over. It was so bad that the president had to leave the country itself. So the Taliban is an Islamic order, a political order, their own terrorist kind of group, which has taken over Afghanistan. It controls more territory than the Afghanistan government does till date. And they have removed the rights of a lot of people. It's a civil war which is going on, and there's a serious human rights concern. It's a 20-year war, and it's almost like Taliban won right now, and the Taliban has swept to victory in Afghanistan. I'll tell you why it's a humanitarian crisis, because it almost feels like the residents of Afghanistan are being held as refugees over there. It's really sad. Y'all can take some time. This is to everyone. Y'all can take some time to read about what's happening in Afghanistan. It's really sad, and it is a humanitarian crisis. So this is the UN trying to talk about what can we do as countries to help Afghanistan or the people of Afghanistan, because the Taliban has taken over and has wiped his victory. That is for UNHRC. So the agenda for DISEC. So DISEC is disarmament and international security, basically. So this may sound fancy again, but it's the first committee of the General Assembly. So there are different committees of General Assembly also. So disarmament basically means act of reducing, limiting, and abolishing weapons. So we know every country has a certain amount of stock of weapons. We keep it, and the military is insane. So the whole point of this is to reduce it, limit it, and abolish it all in all, because when we do have weapons, that means there is war going to be held someday, and it gets scary. So this is with particular emphasis on the Israel-Palestine conflict. So there's a lot of war been going on in Israel and Palestine for quite some time now. It's 54 years of conflict. And Israelis have occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip of Palestine, and there's a fight over land, basically. But with all of this political affairs, there's a lot of people being hurt, a lot of kids being hurt, a lot of common people being hurt, which isn't right. So the whole point of the DISEC committee is to talk about international security with special emphasis on the Israeli-Palestine conflict. UNW, United Nations Women, that is, the agenda is discussing shadow pandemic with special emphasis on marital rape. So shadow pandemic, what this means is, shadow pandemic is a term which means violence against women during COVID-19. So violence against women has always been there, but it has drastically increased during the COVID-19 phase, because there are in this pandemic, because a lot of women are at home, a lot of women are stagnant, they have to stay in one place, they have to help their kids, they have a lot of things to do, and it's increased higher in this pandemic because there's no There's no movement. So it's increased a lot, and at least 1 in 3 women, they say, come under shadow pandemic, which is really sad. So we are discussing about violence against women in this pandemic, why it has increased, and with special emphasis on marital rape. So certain countries consider marital rape as a law, as in again, so it is a crime. But certain countries do not state anything about it, so it doesn't become a crime. So marital rape completely means even when uh, two people are married, uh, without their consent, it things happen, and which violence happens and they are abused, which isn't right. So we'll be particularly speaking on this. Yeah, and it's a non, so in easier terms, it's a non-criminalized crime, because consent means everything, right? So when you are married, people think it's a term used to go away with it, because you are married, I can do anything. But for some countries it's wrong, for some countries it's right, but it's still a topic up for discussion. You all do not have to put your personal opinions in it at all. UNGA, the whole top agenda is growing space technology and the impending militarization of space countries. So the whole space technology and space countries is all about. So many people think that. So there are a lot of countries trying to uh, militarize space. Like when I mean space, I literally mean space, because like this part of space is mine, this part of space is mine, and this is where I keep my. So there's a lot of this happening. Y'all may not know, but if y'all read it for some time, y'all will have a fair enough idea as to what it is. And we do not want to colonize space, because obviously we do not want to colonize space, and this is up for discussion. And the UNGA always stands for international peace and security. So again, we are discussing for the betterment of peace and security of all countries, all in all. And the last committee, UNODC, that is solving the issue of cocaine and heroin trade of trafficking. So again, ODC is about, we are fighting against or for which whatever your country thinks about issue of trade and trafficking of mainly cocaine and heroin. And so when we talk about this, we have to talk about the cultivation of them. There are certain countries which are allowed to cultivate them, certain which are not. So you all will have to stand up for your country. Cultivation, manufacturing them. There are a lot of import export going on. And you all will have to talk about distribution as to where it goes, who it's being sourced to, all of that. And the sale of the substances. So there are a lot of synthetic drugs, and the trade and trafficking of this as to what your country stands for is what the basic agenda is. Do you all have any doubts on the agendas? You all can interrupt me.
For DISEC, I had a question. The disarmament and international security, how far does the agenda extend? Is it just like in between Israel, or can a moderated caucus on other subjects be bought in a general worldview? Because it says with a focus on Palestine and Israel, but it does not give a definition of exactly what extent.
Okay, so when we say emphasis, we are mainly speaking about the particular issue, that is, but you can always speak about other conflicts as well, because it's a wholehearted committee. But when you come up with your resolutions, it is how your country stand, like you'll have to pass a particular resolution. The agenda is set for a particular reason. So when we are discussing about this situation today, it's because we want to come up with a solution tomorrow. So we have to when we come up with resolutions, we mainly keep Israel and Palestine in mind. But when I say that, when you keep Israel and Palestine in mind, it can be general. There are a lot of other conflicts going on in the world. You can always speak about it, but your special emphasis or your head mainly should be on Israel, Palestine. Did I answer your question, or you
Yes,
have
thank
more doubts?
you. No,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Okay, so also when two delegates want to speak, but a session is being held, they can always send chits. So in an offline meeting, you'll send chits. So now that so you can write personal or your country stance or general things, anything you would want to tell another delegate, you all can write, and the person there'll be a member in the committee who's just there for help, and he would OC their call. So he would just give it to the other country. You write to and from, and it goes and it's being read. But now since it's online, you all can always send private messages on Zoom. So one person to another. If you all want it, so there are these chits which can be sent through the executive board, that is through the chair. If you want the chair to see what you're thinking about and you think the chair should know that this is what I'm thinking about, or like this is legitimate or something like that, you can always send it to the chair and to the country. There's this whole chit system, but now that it's online, it's all about messaging, but more not on, you don't message on the Dropbox to everyone. You can always message to the particular person. Okay, any other doubts?
Hi, so with regards to sending chits, would we also could we also send chits to the EB and get graded on it?
Yes, y'all can. Y'all definitely can. See, that's what I told y'all. There are chits y'all would want to send personally to the other country, or there are chits which you think is it's worthy of being graded upon. Y'all can send it through the EB. If the EB thinks, that is the executive board, EB is the executive board guys, and the executive board is basically the chair. So if it goes through the chair and the chair thinks it's worthy to be graded upon, we will grade you for it. So yes, your answer is yes. Anyone else? Are there any questions on the chat box? Are there any questions on the chat box?
Okay, so there are questions on the chat box, but most of them have been answered. I think I'll just answer two very common questions that they keep asking. One is about the registration fee. The registration fee is 350 rupees. And the other question that was asked in the YouTube live was if there are delegates, coming in only from India or from other countries. So our registrations are open for everybody. It's open globally, so we do have some delegates coming in from abroad as well. Yeah, if there are any more questions, please put them on the chat box so Lia or we could answer it.
Can one of my team members check if there is questions on the YouTube live chat?
So another question that was commonly asked was about the prize money. Even though we've mentioned it, it is 1,500, 1,000 and 500 respectively for each committee. 1,500, 1,000 and 500 respectively.
I hope I'm audible. There is a question, a very general question that states if whether the SAPMUN is like a competition or it's just an event. Leah, would you please shed some light on it?
Okay, so I'd call it a conference. So, but it's also a competition because you're being graded upon. It depends on people's perspective as to how they think of it. If they think of it as an event, a conference, or a competition. But it is a competition in its own way because you're being graded upon how you speak, what you speak mainly, and what are your skills. And you're graded and you are given a prize. So every competition has been given a prize. You are rewarded for every competition. So it is definitely a competition, but not in a way where other competitions are being held. It's more of a conference. You're graded upon how you speak individually, and that's how you are rewarded. You'll have any more doubts on that or anything? To be honest, you all can interrupt me.
So again, with regards to chits, how would we send them? So I have a friend who in her AIPPM, she would plan out her speeches in a way that she would speak only half of what she wanted to and send the other half via chits. So is there some strategy like that to send chits? Is it like completely necessary, or how does that work?
Okay, so again, see, if y'all, so y'all can always send chits to the EB, right? In offline. So you want to speak something in particular, but you finish half of it because of the time allotted to y'all. So if you all really want to give out the other part, or you think there's other worthy information that you can give in and you can be graded upon, you can always send a message to the chair. If the chair thinks it's worthy to be graded upon, we will grade you upon it for sure.
For GAs, is it usually everything that we're graded upon is just speaking, right? Because in crisis committee you have to send in directives and stuff which you get graded upon. In GAs, it's just you don't have to send in chits, right? It's mostly your speeches in mods and unmods.
See, I'd say every committee has its own chair, right? So completely depends on the chair. This particular decorum that they follow, it is completely depending upon the chair. But we do not only grade you based on how you speak or the grammar you use. Grammar is not taken into consideration because it is more of the idea you put forth, the confidence you show, how you stand up for your country, how well researched are you on the particular topic. It's completely different. You do not have to send in chits to be graded, but if you want to, if you're scared to speak or you couldn't speak in time, you all can always send in chits. And if you want to converse with another country but you do not get the chance to, you can always send in chits. There is no harm. So it's completely accessible and you can do it.
Leah, there was a question on the chat. How would the judgment be made, and in respect to what kind of criteria?
Okay, again, completely dependent on the judge, that is on the chair. But there are three things that would always be taken into consideration. How well researched are you? So try avoiding going against what your country stands for, going against foreign policies. Be very well researched on your country mainly. Second is how much do you tend to stand up for yourself? We will provide guides to you, and so everything will be given to you all. You all do not have to worry about it. But see, all are mainly judged on your research, what you speak. I wouldn't say how you speak, mainly what you speak. You cannot speak anything that comes to the tip of your tongue. You'll have to think and speak. So what you speak, how researched are you, your see, it completely depends. I wouldn't judge based on your language or your grammar. So that's completely not it. But there is a certain amount of verbatim or decorum that we follow. So yeah, speaking, your research, how you write, even writing can make a huge difference. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, completely based on this, and there will be study guides given to you all. So every chair is supposed to make a study guide for their delegates. So when we give you all these study guides, which will be given to you all prior the conference. So these study guides will help you all have a fine idea about what the chair wants to be discussed, and even about the whole agenda. They'll give you a fair enough idea as to what. So you all do not have to worry about it at all. Anyone else?
Okay, so I got another question. I'll just take it. Someone asked if the topic will be given beforehand. So your topics are your agendas, guys. So the agendas are already out. It's on our brochures for each committee. And like Lia said, you will also be given study guides. The study guides will also contain reference links for you to do more research if you want to. So the topic is your agenda.
Correct. The topic is your agenda, and also y'all do not see, once you know which agenda you're in, y'all do not have to worry. Y'all can always research on the agenda, but y'all will be allotted certain countries. That is, y'all will be assigned certain countries. That is what y'all have to be waiting for, and that also will be given to y'all much prior to the date of the conference. It won't be given to y'all one day prior to the conference, so y'all do not have to worry about it at all. Any other questions, guys?
If there are any other questions, please drop your questions on the chat box. And if anyone's on the YouTube live, you can also drop your questions on the live chat.
I see a question about my first experience on Munning. Okay, so my first experience on Munning was I had an offline meeting on offline conference in Mangalore itself. That was my first MUN, not Mangalore, sorry, Udupi. And I was given I chose the Lok Sabha committee, and I was very scared. I was very nervous, and I researched so much, but I always lacked that confidence to speak. So I was very scared of what would people think about me when I speak, or how I would speak, or what if I just do not say the right words, in that fear. But then I realized it's a very safe space. You'll see a lot of students talking. You'll see a lot of them having the same issues you do. And when I spoke, it was such a wonderful experience. When I spoke for the first time, you get to also, it's an opportunity given to you all. And I'd say never say no to opportunity, because sometimes you may get it in blunder, but sometimes you may just not get it, and you do not want to regret it. And it's a really good MUN. I'm telling y'all should have a first time experience with all of this. And at SAPMUN, we have a lot of first timers. We have a lot of them. So y'all completely do not have to worry about you being lesser than someone or you being more than someone. It's not something we take into consideration. We make it a point. It's a safe space for everyone to speak, because at the end of the day, we want everyone to grow. It's not only a competition, but it's an opportunity for you all to grow in your communication skills as well. So, yep, that was my first experience. Anyone else? I will wait for 2 more minutes and we can wrap this up. If there are no questions, y'all can type your questions on the chat box or interrupt me. I'm sorry, I can't quite get you. Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask me anything, guys. Any queries?
There's a question on the chat box. How much time would the debate take, like the whole conference take?
Okay, so the whole conference is being shifted into different things. It's been shifted. So if y'all check the brochure out, y'all will be given this. And if y'all couldn't find it, please text someone of the team, or please message any source of SAPMUN, and they will give you a brochure. So in the brochure, there is how the 3 days event would go. So it would start with the inaugural program, and the whole debate would start. There are like 2-3 committee sessions one day, and the next day there are a lot of breaks in between also. So in this 2 days conference, it's a 3-day conference, but your whole debating thing starts on a Saturday, and those 2 days will be held up for conference. And it's a 2-day conference, and you all do not have to worry about the time. You all do not have to worry about anything, because you all will be given breaks. It's not going to be a very monotonous thing. Do not worry about that. Yes, y'all can mail them, y'all can DM them on Instagram. If y'all are from college and y'all have your friends on the team, y'all can always text them. We are happy to help. Anyone else? I got a message saying, how do we prepare our speech to the assembly? Any tips? So again, I cannot tell you all how to speak. I can only tell you all, research well. Speak, but research well. Do not speak your personal opinion out. Always research well, and always have a backup. Always think of questions you would ask yourself if you were the other person. So when I used to prepare for MUNs, I'd always think of, okay, this country could have asked me, why would I think of this? And I would prepare for a question in my head, that's it. So being prepared could help, but y'all are, no one is ever underprepared. It's an experience y'all have to live to understand. So y'all do not have to worry about it. There's nothing, there's no particular tip I'd say, and I cannot be giving y'all a lot of information since I'm a chair myself. Anyone else? Y'all can unmute yourselves, guys.
Any tips to lead committee in an unmod or something along those lines?
See, the whole point of an unmoderated caucus, that is how she says an unmod, if a lot of first timers may not understand, or if you all don't know what this term means, it is an informal break. So when this informal break is given, it is still being monitored. So this break doesn't mean you go eat your food or do, those breaks are separately given. So this unmoderated caucus or this break is given for y'all to discuss, to interact with other countries, to come up with common ground, or to write your working papers, or to research for information, or to suddenly, if someone asks you something and you are underprepared, you can suddenly check. So all of that comes into consideration with your whole unmoderated caucus, and you all can always put in a motion, but it completely depends on the discretion of the chair. That is, if the chair is willing to give you all a break, he or she will. If he or she is not willing to do so, they would not. But mostly they will give you breaks for your unmoderated caucus. Anyone else? What would we have to wear for the Model United Nations conference? So normally when it's offline, we wear formal clothing, but now that it's online, you all can wear decent clothing. It's not quite of a hassle. You all do not have to dress up or think of it, but you all can always dress up. There's nothing underdressed or overdressed in a conference. Do not worry about that, but it should be decent, I'd say. Is there any videos of previous year's SAPMUN to refer how the competition goes? Okay, so I think this question's been answered, but also y'all can also y'all can also refer to YouTube or other MUNs, which is already on YouTube, because the whole protocol is the same, procedure is the same. So do not completely worry about that. Yes, y'all can wear your uniforms. Do not worry about it. Someone asked me if y'all can wear your uniforms. Y'all can wear your uniforms. We strongly condemn the Taliban for its. Okay, I will not answer this question because it's not appropriate for the webinar and it's not up for discussion. Anyone else?
With regard to the clothing for the MUN conference, just adding this, it's not a compulsion, but last year we had some delegates wear clothing from their country. just to enhance their portfolio. Not that you'll be graded for it or something, but you can choose to do that. We don't really have any restriction.
Yes, at the end of the day, it should just be decent clothing, be it your uniform, be it y'all can. There's nothing called overdressed or underdressed in this conference. Do not worry about it. Just let it be appropriate and decent, because your cameras will be on. Someone asked me what is the difference between speakers list and moderated caucus. Okay, so speakers list is given to every country to speak for at their particular stance of the country. Moderated caucus is when someone says they want to start a moderated caucus, and with the discretion of the chair, they let you do so. And when they let you do so, you all can have a particular topic which can be spoken about. So speakers list is general. Moderated caucus is more on special emphasis. And this whole conference will also be recorded, so do not worry about it. Should we keep our videos on for the whole session? I cannot answer this for you because it completely depends on the chair. That is the judge of your committee, but preferably your cameras should be on. We will have another webinar coming soon about the whole rules of procedure. You all can always ask questions. If you all have any general questions, you all can ask me. What is the procedure for dissect? What do you mean? What is the procedure for dissect? I didn't quite get your question. Are there any other questions? I will wait for 2 minutes and we can wrap this up.
Just one more question. For
Yes.
the I'm on the dissect. It's unclear how is it it's a committee of the GA. Is there anything different from the GA, because I participated in the GA before when I attended SAPMUN in 2019? Is it the same procedures, or will that be covered in the procedures meeting?
Okay, so dissect, when they say it's the first committee of the UNGA, it doesn't really have to bother you because your grading and all doesn't differ from GA or dissect. It's the same procedure being held. But I'd say also this completely depends on the discretion of the chair. So the first session, he will explain to you what he wants, how it should go about, and your study guides will be given to you all. So you all can have a fair enough idea as to what the whole agenda is about. So do not worry about GA and dissect being different. All committees, it's even if you participate in a different committee today or tomorrow, it doesn't make a difference. But just research well. That's all I'd say.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Can students outside St. Aloysius participate? Yes, they can. It is open to anyone and everyone. So please do participate. Encourage your friends to participate. Any school, any college, please go for it. Oh, also there's campus ambassadors. I do not know if you all checked the Instagram page out, but we put a post out on campus ambassadors. So campus ambassadors are people from different schools. One of them, they get a certain group of participants who'd like to join, and there will be certain incentives given to these people because participants are being bought. We will consider them as campus ambassadors. So you all can also think of that and encourage your friends from different colleges and schools to do the same. Anyone, anything else, guys? I'm going to wait for It's 7:06. I'm going to wait till 7:08 and we can wrap this up. Okay, because I do not see any messages and my team did not get any queries and questions itself, we can wrap this up. I'd say please register for SAPMUN, make your friends, encourage them to do so. I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be a wonderful experience. We have a lot in mind and this is going to be great for all of y'all and people participating. All the best and stay safe. Take care. Thank you. Lia D'costa signing off.
I would like to inform everyone who has joined recently that we have the entire webinar recorded on the YouTube in our channel. It's SAPMUN 2021. You all can revisit the page and watch the entire webinar. Next week, we'll have a webinar on the rules of procedure where every detail of the procedure, the rules and the procedures of SAPMUN would be explained to you all. We welcome you all to participate in the following webinar too. I thank you all for joining this webinar. I hope all the questions have been answered. Thank you, Lia.
Any more questions or queries, you can always DM us on our Instagram page or send an email to sapmun2021@gmail.com. It's on the chat box for those who could not hear me. Thank you so much for attending this webinar and do join us for the ROP session, which will be held next week.